Think horse racing is too complicated? Think again.
And they're off!
Every pro was a newbie once. Meet DRF Newbie, the mobile tool loaded with daily racing form data and the power of DRF AI.
What a shocker!
Get the insights you need fast so you can play smarter and feel more confident. DRF Newbie, horse racing made simple. Try it free today. Visit newbie.drf.com.
A great platform for the new players out there. And I know at Del Mar, there's a lot of new players. A lot of folks go out there with a group of their friends. Maybe they're not the most hardcore bettors all throughout the year, but they go a couple times down in San Diego at Del Mar. So let your friends know about DRF Newbie, or maybe they want to step up to the big pass performances where they can get the DRF PPs, picks, and clocker reports for every racing day at Del Mar. Go to shop.drf.com. I am Gino Buccola, and I am alongside Barry Spears, my good friend who you have here with me, gosh, each and every week for the last 6 or 7 years. My friend, how's everything going on your end?
Hanging out, man. Just trying to stay cool, but getting ready for this weekend action, man. There's a lot of it. This Del Mar card is really great, and I'm just looking forward to all of it this weekend and going in with both fists.
Man who many of you see on the broadcast out there at Del Mar is Ryan Anderson. He's always on the simulcast, I think a couple different days of the week. So Ryan, I mean, you've been there from the very first day of the meet till Saturday for the big day, Pacific Classic Day. And we're going to take a look at the late pick 5 sequence. This is as good of a card that you will find in any racetrack in North America that's not a Breeders' Cup Day or a Kentucky Derby Oaks Day. There are 11 races, 115 horses. That's not counting the 5 also eligibles. There's one race that has 7, 2 races have 9, and then the other 8 races are all double digits. The graded stakes are packed. The Pacific Classic has a field of 12, and we're going to get into it. It's an awesome group. It's a big, huge field. And Ryan, we have 4 graded stakes. I mean, this is as good of a day as you could have asked for.
Absolutely. Top to bottom, this card is fantastic. And, if you had asked myself or anybody that worked at Del Mar a month ago when the news of journalism and Nisos retiring, how they felt about the Pacific Classic, everybody, I think, would have been like, we'll see. I think that ended up almost benefiting us because now you have everybody wanting to take a shot. We have 11 horses in there, but top to bottom, the entire card is just phenomenal.
Yeah, and I think I said 12. No, we got 11 with Knightsbridge. And what's so cool about the Pacific Classic, Noah, is it's a great betting race, but there's all these different stories. When I have to preview the races for DRF or wherever, I try to get some of the talking points, like the overviews of the races to set the scene. We have 7 horses in the Pacific Classic that last raced outside of California. 9 graded stakes winners in the field. You've got a grade 2 winning Calbred filly. You got a horse from Japan. You've got winners of the Big Cap, the Gold Cup, the California Crown, the Dubai World Cup. You got a Breeders' Cup winner. You got a horse looking for the 4th in a row. And none of them are going to go favorite because it's going to be the horse who got a 122 buyer last time that's going to go favored.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You got all these storylines, but at the head of them in the forefront is definitely Knightsbridge, who draws an interesting post from the outside. We'll talk about it a little bit later. It's going to be fun. How could you not be excited with all this great action here at Del Mar? Obviously, the best card of the meet for sure. Best card of the meet so far. I mean, this is very action-packed. Very excited to get into these races.
Okay, so if you want to follow along with us, we're pulling up those daily racing form past performances. We're going to start in race number 7 with the start of the late pick 5 sequence. We have a 1-mile turf course here, 1-mile turf race here for 3-year-olds and up, which have never won 21 other than maiden claiming a starter. This is a tricky spot. I think there are a few horses that are going to take some support in here. Ryan, we can start with you. We don't have the odds out for some of these races. We do for the Pacific Classic. So we'll just kind of be able to talk you through some of the horses we like. But from just a class standpoint, I think one of the horses in here who does get some class relief is going to be First Piece, who's dropping out of some stakes races. You can see he's just been in a steady diet of stakes and graded stakes races. I think he's probably one of the horses you can kind of start with as a horse who fits really well here at the level. It's a big field, so it's going to be a competitive group. I thought he was like a player towards the top tier. You had Down on the inside, Charlie's to Blame, who is coming off of back-to-back races at this level where he ran really well. He finished second twice in a row in a similar spot. So you can kind of use him as like a measuring stick for horses at and around this level.
Yeah, 100%. I think to stick with Charlie's to Blame because that's kind of who I've ended up on as a lukewarm choice. I think the biggest red flag with him is that the pace is probably going to work against him, but he's run into Detain and he's run into Ironman Cal in each of his last two. Detain runs in the Del Mar Mile that we'll talk about a little bit later. Ironman Cal, obviously a very good runner. We last saw him, I think, in the San Diego Handicap. They wanted to try the dirt. That didn't work. I would expect to see him back on the turf course, but he's not really running into either of those in here. As far as first piece goes, I do think he's going to be benefited by the pace a little bit more. He's one that can certainly come from a little bit off of it. It concerned me a little bit that they're choosing this spot and running him for the tag. I mean, he's been a very successful horse. He's a multiple stake winner. You'd think he still, has some value to that aspect. Maybe nobody claims him because he's cleared all of his conditions, and maybe they kind of get by. But he can still hang with some stakes company. So I was kind of surprised to see him in here. But I think first piece definitely contends pretty deep in here, as does Charlie's to Blame. I did think Adios Cole down on the rail. That's probably going to be my top pick in here, though. I do think this horse really likes Del Mar, has a win over the course last year, and has been here since before opening day. Had that work on July 17th and then two works on the grass, including a really quick work on August the 3rd with the dogs out on the turf course. To go 47 with how far those cones are out, he must have really been moving that day. So I do think he likes it here in Southern California. So those three are definitely the top contenders for me in here.
He won last year off a layoff when he hadn't raced from January to July. He showed up in July. He was 9-1 in a race kind of like this. It was a first level allowance race, but it was like a pretty competitive race. He didn't look like a top tier contender in that race. And he still won. He actually looks a lot better on paper kind of going into this race than he did before. He could absolutely save ground from down on the inside and come running. Let's hand the baton over to you, Barry, my friend. Who are some of the horses who you would want to use maybe to get this pick 5 started?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with first piece, but I have to say at this short price that this horse is going to be, this horse is a 6-year-old now, hasn't won in 2 years almost. I think this horse would probably be favored, but at that kind of price or short-ish price, I wouldn't really want to take a horse like this that looks like he's kind of losing a step maybe. Tempest Vola is a horse that I really kind of like here because their form is a little bit muddied up. Last year, they ran well around this time of year, and especially at Del Mar.
When he started getting really good, right?
Started getting really good, and they went too long in the Hollywood Derby. That horse doesn't want to go that long. Lost to Salamis, then ran up against Hiding in Honduras, who got a bad trip in one of those races behind Tempest Vola. I think it was in the Let It Ride. That horse didn't really run all that great, didn't get a great trip. I believe was out wide, but then comes back this year and got some wide trips and trouble trips. The first one, March 14th, they were blocked, as the comment in the form says, and they were. Then they went too long, 1 1/8 at San Anito on May 1st. Then out wide again in that $80,000 non-winners of 2 and didn't do much running. And then last time we're wide again. And they stand to get a wide trip here. But I also think that they're quick enough to get in position. I'm not really too sure how fast this pace is really going to be. I know there's a lot of horses with 1s in their past performances, but I don't expect all of them to send. And I think Tempest Vola, who probably will be an okay price in this, I think so too. Stands to get a good trip and a good run for your money.
Both the career wins have been here at Del Mar. Barry's giving you a nice price and throwing one downfield. Noah, we look at first piece, and we're all kind of in agreement that he's probably going to be the horse to beat. And he's probably going to take a lot of money in here. Do you think he stands out against this group? Is he one that you'd want to use along with a couple others? How do you see him, and who are some of the horses that are on your radar?
Yeah, in terms of first piece, I'm a bit wary. I'll try to take him on in the spot. I know he's getting class relief, but when I watched his last race, I didn't really think he was all that good. I mean, he was kind of sitting the pocket trip that, you see with a lot of winners on the grass and just didn't have much of a punch late. I wonder if Ryan's correct in the assumption that maybe he's kind of heading the wrong way. This is a bit of a weary spot for him, being a 6-year-old at this point in his career. So I'm going to try to beat him. I will definitely use the 2 Charlie's to blame. I think the biggest feather in his cap, per se, is the fact that I feel like on days like this, Pacific Classic Day, definitely Exhibit A, is when they move the rails all the way down. The inside path too is definitely the place to be, and I think Charlie's to blame. While he likes to be forward, can sit that kind of pocket trip where he is on the best part of the turf course, and is in a good position to win. And then in terms of maybe going the price route like Barry is, I'll actually try the far outside, Man Among Men. Third off the long layoff, first off the layoff, ran just kind of an even effort behind Charlie's to blame. He really wasn't all that far off that same rival and War at Sea last time. And he's one of those horses where the inside trip doesn't really work all that well for him, because he's one of those low motor types where it kind of takes a while to get going. While the outside post might look a bit disadvantageous on paper, I think the outside might actually be a bit of an advantage when it comes to a horse like Man Among Men.
Yeah, he was one of the horses that was like right on the fringes for me. And I definitely think now, like just kind of having you talk about him too, he'll be at least on one of the spread pick 5 tickets that I play. A couple horses that you guys didn't mention that I will have in some way, shape, or form. They're right next to each other in the field, but they're kind of like different running styles. So you want to talk a little Lonesome Stew right now? Yeah, get at him real quick. Who comes off that?
Yeah, right now. I think this horse has some upside here. I know they haven't been the greatest, but honestly, the turf races for this horse have been pretty good. Even the last one, and stretching out seems like it makes a lot of sense here. And they stand to get a pretty good trip. Mark Glatt's been hitting on all cylinders for a while now, and this horse in particular has been working well since going to Del Mar. I think they can get a good trip. I'm not really sure what kind of price you're going to get. I'm sure it's going to be on the higher side. I'd take 7-1 or higher on this horse and let it fly, because this race is really wide open, and I would never take a short price on anybody in here.
Lonesome Stew is one for Barry that'll be in the mix. I am going to look at both the first, the number 4, Arrakis. I want to talk a little bit about him. In like watching his races, I've always thought that he could be a little better going longer. And he's another one that, like, there's 3 or 4 horses like that where I like the stretch out for him, but I'm a little worried about the way the race shapes up. Because if all of these horses that stretch out show a little bit more speed, they could be flying early, especially if Charlie's to blame is up there. You have horses like Captain Choo-Chee's, maybe Lonesome Stew. So that's my concern. But just him overall as a horse, I think you can absolutely excuse his last 2 races, because the November race, he just was a little bit flat. He was facing Flyover, who's really tough to catch and run down when he can get loose on the lead. And then last time out, he kind of ran like a horse who needed the race. He was outside. He was widest of all in a small field, and he was just flat. If you go back to his races in October and September, he was really starting to trend in the right direction, and his trajectory was going very well. Like, it's one of those toss 2 angles. Can you just be forgiving for those last 2 races that I think you can like make a little excuses for? So I kind of like him stretching out a little bit. And then the total opposite end of the spectrum, right next door, you got American Hope, who, if there is the version of this race where maybe a lot of these horses that we say do go forward, I like to have American Hope, because he will come flying late. He doesn't have to worry about basically his last 2 losses. He lost to Grade 1 winners, King of Gosford and Gold Phoenix. And this race, there's nobody like that in here. So from a class relief standpoint, I think he's also interesting. Those are 2 pick 5 type of horses that are going to be in the mix for me. And then the only other one I wanted to kind of throw up in the air, I didn't know what to do with Captain Choo-Chee's, who got so good. He won 6 in a row, and then he had to step up. He faced Graded Stakes Company, and Stakes Company, legitimate stumble last time out. He's a little bit better than those 2 races might suggest, his last 2. So maybe he can bounce back, because when you win 6 races in a row, you're not going to win 10, 15 in a row. Bad stuff happens. It's not easy to win races. Like, some things you're gonna get unlucky. You're gonna get a bad trip. It's gonna happen a couple times after you've had a bunch of lucky trips in a row. So maybe it kind of bounces back for him the other way. Ryan, what's so cool about this card? There aren't a lot of races like this throughout the year in Southern California. This is like this is like a Keeneland, like a Gulfstream championship meet kind of race where a big field, like a turf allowance race, we generally don't get that many races like this out here.
I agree. And even with the big field, because we do have fairly big field sizes over the summer at Del Mar here, the issue is we'll have 2 horses that can win, or at most like 3 horses. We just made a case for just about every horse in this field, and it's all pretty legitimate because they all have contention. And that's top to bottom on this entire card. And as we're going to go through, I'm sure we're going to be here for like 3 hours because every single horse in each of these races has a chance. So it's that kind of card, which is it's just awesome. And for Captain Chuchi's, I do think if you do like that horse, I think getting back on Lasix could be a big difference maker there because he seemed a little flat in the latter parts of those last 2 when he had to kind of step up. But this is the kind of spot where running for the tag for this horse, he's tried stakes, maybe a little bit in over his head. Now he's back in, I think, where he definitely belongs.
Yeah, it's from a gambling standpoint, it's a fun race to attack because anyone who feels like first piece is getting some class relief and is going to be tough in here, I think that's a valid point. Anyone who feels like, you know what, he's going to be drawn wide, he's 6, you know what, he's not a speed horse who can make their own trip, he could get a little bit lazy and you want to line up against him, I also think that's very valid. That's what you want as a gambler, the opportunity to go and have some options and do multiple things and feel kind of confident about it. That's race number 7. Let's turn the page to race number 8 and start the late pick 4 sequence. This is a first level allowance optional claimer. And just from a group to really feel confident about the form, this is probably the most challenging race in the sequence because I think there are a lot of horses in here that you have some question marks about. The next 3 races we're going to be talking about, they're all graded stakes races. We kind of know those horses a little bit better. This one, I mean, we start with a horse like Magnify, who, if he won this race, it wouldn't shock me. His numbers are good enough. His figures are good enough. This is a logical spot for him. But he's been disappointing. He's been your beaten favorite in 3 races in a row right now. So he's a hard horse to really trust. I mean, the 2 horses that beat him, Pure Madness and Native Land, they both look fine right back. I don't think either one of them is a cinch or a standout or a horse who you're like, yep, absolutely, that's a horse who's head and shoulders above the rest of this field. And, then towards the outside even, you have a horse like Santorina who's won 4. But you look at some of the horses who he's been defeated by. He lost to nice horses from way back at the very beginning when he lost to Parenting, and Eagle's Flight and Crude Velocity and Captivator are in there. Clouseau ran 100 Buyer 2 starts back. I mean, he's got the ability to win a race just like this. Let's go to you, Barry, my friend. Late pick 4 starts in race number 8. Who are some of the horses on your radar?
You know, this race is really interesting because all of these horses can win pretty much. It's just about what do you think they're going to do on Saturday, and how they're coming into the race. Now, I want to start with Native Land. Even though I'm a little cold on this horse, I want to point out the ship and wins. They really do make a difference out there because a horse like this was running a non-winners of 3 at Oaklawn, got claimed, comes out to Del Mar on July 18th and wins with a 94 Buyer. And this horse hasn't been close to that. So I'm going to take that as a perfect trip, but still went to this same company and won. So the horse that kind of interests me is the 2 Honky Tonk Highway. Yep. This horse has been running an open company and holding his own against some tough horses out east at Churchill and Keeneland and Fairgrounds. And this might be somewhat of class relief, and I don't think the stretch out is going to make much of a difference. This horse is bred to go this far. A mile shouldn't be out of this horse's scope, and I think that might keep people on their heels on betting this horse, and I think the price might go up because of it. I gather this horse is probably going to be about 10-12 to 1 morning line, and it might get a little bit higher than that, but I think this horse stands a pretty good chance because they've run races in the past that could win this race. And I think getting to some easier competition while stretching out might make the value worth it.
Ryan, this is a really cagey barn that through the years has like done a lot of things like this where they have horses, they point them to certain spots. You can tell Mick Ruiz did not start a horse before the Del Mar meet this year.
Mm-hmm.
He had a couple horses that he was just pointing for this meet. So you can look and see he had not started any horse until Otto the Conqueror this year in 2026, until Otto the Conqueror started on December the 18th. Since then, he's had Bossman Bolt, he had Bossman Bolt as his first one, and he's had Mary's Boy Bolt also. So those are the horses that he's had run. He had Lamp just win at 6-1 in a very similar type spot with a horse like that came out of a 50 still wins 6-1. Like, it seems like they came down to Del Mar with a group of horses with a plan, and now you're kind of seeing that plan starting to come to fruition a little later in the meet.
Where I come from, that's called trying to get the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's 5 for 6 in the exacta. So he's been placing his horses really, really well. And he's just been maybe, run into, one better horse except for Lamp, who got the job done. Honky Tonk Highway, to Barry's point, I'm right with him. I want no part of the native land race or Frosty Indulgence, who's coming out of the race where Bartoldi, the one horse who I thought no way that horse could make the lead, took him wire to wire. That was Tyler Bay's best ride since Listen Up Chance on the turf last year. But
yeah,
like I'm taking every horse but the ones coming out of that native land race and Frosty Indulgence. It's a big spread race for me. I don't trust any of those coming out of that native land race. It felt like native land popped this huge number, to Barry's point, where you've never seen him run a number back similar to that. And nobody else really fired. Magnify was disappointing again. Pure Madness kind of did some of what he's just kind of always done. And now he's a little bit maybe underexposed. This is his third start off the layoff, but I don't think you're going to get much of a price. And I don't really trust him because of that. And he got enough of a setup last time. He didn't really have that like dog in him, so to speak, to kind of finish that off last time out. So that late punch. So I'm just going to use all the fresh faces in here and just hope that's enough to kind of keep things moving. I do think the rail runner, Charlie Foxtrot, is interesting. I'm hoping that the price is going to be fair enough and in that 4-1 maybe range. I do think with JJ aboard from the inside, this horse does have some of that sprint speed. I hope that horse just kind of gets out to a good spot early, whether that's on the lead or tracking just off of it. Bob Hess has been very, very sharp at placing his horses. Him and JJ don't team up all that much, but when they do, they have success. They're 5 for 15 over the past year when they team up together. So that's my top pick. But yeah, all the new faces for me.
Noah, it's actually going to be pretty interesting because the 3 horses that come out of the native land race, they might be like the top 3 betting choices in here, or 3 of them, right? If you're looking at like native land, Pure Madness is definitely going to take money just because he looks good on paper, right? He doesn't have a whole lot of races where he's been beaten. He's going to go third start off the layoff. I agree with Ryan. Like, I don't know how good he is, and maybe he does take a step forward. He'll take some money, and then Magnify always takes money. So just sort of how you feel about that July 18th race, the Del Mar 10th, it's kind of important about how you feel about this race.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And I'm a little down on it too. I think if you're going to take anyone, I would probably take Magnify just because he was probably a little further out of it than he prefers. He also didn't really seem like himself. Like KK was pushing him hard throughout the early stages of that race. Then he finally got going. But they didn't really come home all that fast. He's going to take money. If he's going to be short price once again, I'd probably be a little reluctant to use him. I kind of like the outside two, Clouseau and Santarena. Clouseau is one that's obviously in very good form, fresh face, as Ryan said. And I think people will be a little down on him because he's 0 for 7 on the win end at Del Mar. But if you look carefully at some of his races, you go back to the race September 6th last year, Lyle Song and Del Mar Jerry were running some serious races at that time. They were like mid to high 90s buyers for that level, which is something you just typically don't see. And the other 8 furlong race at Del Mar was over Breeders' Cup weekend, where he drew way out wide, made this big wide move and flattened out.
That was a good field too behind Vodka Vodka.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very good field, and I think you can be a little more forgiving of those races, even though he didn't find himself in the winner's circle in those. Obviously, he did 2 back last time, was runner-up behind, getting by. Those 2 races put him squarely in the mix. He was a vet scratch a couple weeks ago, but the fact that George GP is starting to heat up a little bit more and brings him back into a tough spot like this, I think It's definitely a good thing to see. And then Santarena was a horse I was a big fan of last time. I just think the pace didn't necessarily develop like it was on paper. San Siro was supposed to be in there for Baffert. He scratched. There was a Glatt runner. That was Duke Silver, who didn't break at all. And Ahrens got the lead. And if you look at the chart, basically 1 through 9 were 1 through 9 throughout, which is just
we were losing you for
something
just a
you don't
second there.
see.
I think I was.
You see a little passing there. But anyway, I wanted to use him. His race way back, going 8 furlongs, wasn't bad. Lost to Eagles Flight, who you mentioned. He's actually lost him a couple times, so I wanted to give him one more shot. But yeah, it's a very difficult race, and I could see people using quite a few in here. Do we lose Gino?
I think
We might have lost Gino.
I think we lost Gino.
Jackson, Noah, you're not Jackson. No. No, a question to you about Pure Madness. Ayuso was on that July 18th run, and that was during the time where Ayuso quite literally had a run of, I think it was 10 straight seconds to start the meet.
Yeah.
What do you factor that in at all? Because he's kind of
had a technical difficulty there for a second on my end, but we're finishing up with race number 8. Ryan, let's put a bow on this one before we get into the 3 graded stakes races. This is like a real spread out race for you right here, right?
Yeah, very much a spread race. I'm happy that the 3 graded stakes are horses that we know and are a little bit more consistent, because this one I'm going to have to go pretty deep in.
Noah, how are you going to finish up with the 8th race here? What's your pick 4, pick 5 going to look like?
Yeah, I think if I'm playing the pick 5, I think it will probably center around a couple of the outside horses I mentioned, Clouseau, Santareno. I'll definitely have maybe on the A line. Like I said, Magnify. If you want anyone out of that race, maybe the one out of the July 18th race with both Native Land and Pure Madness. And then I thought Barry made a good case for the 2 coming from out of town. Definitely a tough race, in agreement with the rest of the panel.
Barry, my friend, what was the 8th race looking like for you as we put your picks up?
Yeah, I think Honky Tonk Highway is a horse that I might concentrate on in this late sequence. But I do think, or I want to give a pass to Frosty Indulgence and use that horse. I think that Bartholdi race was kind of an outlier in itself. And this horse really didn't run all that poorly in those races back at Churchill and Keeneland. And I think they can come running late. And then Santeria on the outside, I think, can get a good trip as long as Rosario shows up.
Yeah, I'm going to try this one more time. My computer has been acting up. I've got like a dial-up computer from way back in the day that's just like struggling over here. But we're going to put a bow on race number 8. Every time I see this horse too, in my head, and I can't help it. And you don't have to send me any posts because I know it's not that. But I always got to say, Noah, I don't practice Santarina, even though it's not Santeria, it's Santeria. It feels like you got to sing it that way. I know you love when I sing it every now and then, Noah.
I'm so glad that the internet was crystal clear for that. I mean, that was a highlight of the show so far.
That was all we needed right there. So, and maybe a horse that will be forward from the outside because he's kind of struggled passing horses. And one of the times that was his career best race where he won and he earned a 92 Beyer speed figure was when they put him on the front end. So I wouldn't be shocked if that's something they try to do from out there. But if you're going to take from all 4 of us about this race, it's that it is not easy. It's not easy to have a strong opinion in this particular race, and it's probably going to be a little bit better to maybe lean on someone in one of the graded stakes races coming up that you just feel a little bit safer about their form there. So race number 8 kicks off the late pick 4 sequence. Let's turn the page to race number 9. And let's start here with you in this one, Noah. This is the Del Mar Oaks. And what is so awesome about the Saturday card at Del Mar is in these stakes races, we have some good shippers. really good shippers. I mean, in the Pacific Classic, we have a bunch of them. In the Del Mar Oaks, we've got Tam Tam, who's coming in and most recently raced at Churchill Downs and earned a 93 Beyer speed figure. That number puts her right up towards the very top of this group. You have Green Carrera for Joseph O'Brien. This horse won a race 2 starts back at Ascot. It wasn't a full field. There were a couple scratches. It was only a field of 30. There were 32 horses entered in that race, and she beat a field of 30, which is nuts. And if you're watching the race, what's crazy, she's dead last early in the race. She's like 30th, and she moves from last all the way up the inside to first. She has a ton of ability.
They lighted them too.
You've also got Define, right? I mean, so impressive. You've got Define, who comes in for Brendan Walsh, but the horse that's probably the one to beat is Kensington Lane, who was the Grade 1 Belmont Oaks winner, and she ran some good races in Ireland before coming to the U.S. That 5th in the Irish 1,000 Guineas behind Precise and True Love and Abashiri, that's not a bad race. She won a Group 3 prior to that. This is a strong field, Noah. We've got some good shippers, some local horses, too, coming out of the San Clemente that I think you can make legitimate cases for. To the outside rating, Party is a really, really nice filly. It's a solid group in the Del Mar Oaks.
Yeah, good group, and obviously good chunk of shippers. We've kind of seen that over the course of the meet as well. A couple of these turf races, you've got the likes of some Midwest connections or connections from the East Coast come over and see if they're up for the task. I have to take a stand somewhere. I'm going to roll with Tam Tam. She'll be the lean for me. I just think she's getting really good at this point in time. And she's almost a 6-length winner in the Tepin. Anytime you win a grass race by almost 6 lengths, I mean, you're crushing a field. People tend to say that, 6 lengths on the grass is 12 lengths on the dirt. And, that's just a huge margin of victory when it comes to these turf events. I think the pace scenario is really interesting because there's really not a whole lot of speed. The only one that she really needs to worry about, or Junior needs to worry about, is the aforementioned Kensington Lane, who set up, a pretty tepid pace last time. I think if Junior really wanted to, he could go get the lead, but I talked a little bit about it a couple races ago with Tam Tam being in post 3 and the horses too are inside, not showing a whole lot of speed. Junior can just get right down to the rail so easy. She's going to be on the best part of the track. She's probably going to have clear sailing unless Joelle decides to wing it out there, which if she does, I think Tam Tam is very capable to just sit right out of her. I have a couple question marks about some of the other horses that are coming out of the common race just a few weeks ago here. That was the San Clemente. The horses out here on the West are fine. Rating Party, if I'm going to take anyone, would probably be her, but she's parked out way wide. So you got to lean somewhere, got to take some stands. In a very difficult sequence like this, my stand is Tam Tam.
Yeah, the new faces look really good in here, Ryan. Like the shippers, they're hard to knock because they come out of strong races, strong form. Tam Tam and Kensington Lane, they have the co-top buyers in the field of 93s.
Yeah, they do. And Kensington Lane for me is a pretty big play against. We've seen time and again those numbers at Saratoga. Especially when you're able to go very easy on the lead, those numbers sometimes come back faster than what they really are. And Joel, walked the dog. It was a great ride to his credit, but you're going to get a little bit more pace in here. I don't think they're going to be flying, but I don't think you're going to be able to go 48-4 to the half at Del Mar over our turf course. So I do think that they're just going to be going.
Right?
It's just different out here. Our jockeys are not afraid to be aggressive.
Guys. We're West Coast guys. We know that, right? We're speedy. We're aggressive. They're going to have to work if they're going to get by you and I first early on out here, Ryan.
Truly, they are. And I would even say that a horse like Define could be in front of Kensington Lane if Joel's not careful. I think Kimura is a very aggressive rider. I'm not picking that horse, but I think that horse can factor into some pace. Now, outside of him, or her, I should say, it's tough to find a horse that's going to be forward outside of Tam Tam. I think Tam Tam should be very tough. If there was a little bit more pace in here, I would be all over Green Carrera. That race 2 back that was the field of 30, somewhat of a live race. There were multiple next out winners. The second place finisher came out to win a Group 3 next time out, and then the third place finisher won a handicap in her next start. So it's certainly a bit of a live race for 30 horses. I would hope at least a couple of them would come out to win their next start, or else that'd be some pretty big red flag. biggest green flag I would say is Rancho Temescal purchased this horse, it looked like, out of that last race, and they come here to win. And I would imagine this horse is going to stay here, most likely in the care of Phil D'Amato, if not Phil, then Mark Glatt, as they kind of take those partnerships. So I like that horse, but she is dead last, to your credit, in a lot of those, to your point, in a lot of those races. So I do think Tam Tam's going to be a heavier lean, but I'm going to be 3-4 using Green Carrera as well.
That's my biggest concern with her, because as a horse, I like her. I think it's a great spot. I think she classes up really well with this group, but she's just not quick early. She just does not have a lot of early speed. That's exactly what happened in her race on July the 15th. She ran really well when she finished second last time out behind Meriden, but she had to close from last. Meriden got the jump on her, and Meriden's actually won 5 in a row. So that's a really nice horse that she just ran into right there. What's cool about Define for Brendan Walsh is that she actually complements her stablemate Rating Party a little bit, because Rating Party is just a deep closer. And if Brendan Walsh's filly Define is able to show a little bit more speed, that might also help the chances of Rating Party, as well as give Define a better shot of winning this race if she's right up there in the mix and they're not going all that fast early on, or maybe she's able to at least just keep some of the other speeds honest. So I think that'll give them both opportunity to run their races. Barry, my friend, how are you seeing this one play out? Who are the horses that you need in this race?
I hope a lot of people feel the way all of you feel about the Green Carrera, because I don't think the pace is really going to matter here. That horse was that good, and it was very impressive. They're going to have a hard time beating that horse. And in a pick 5 situation, the only 2 horses I would use in here would be Tam Tam because of the setup, and then Green Carrera because that horse seems to be faster than everybody else closing, and by a lot. I think I actually like freight training at home.
I like that approach.
I just don't think the pace is really going to matter much.
Especially if Kensington Lane takes money, and then you're kind of going in the approach of like, I'm going to take maybe the second and third choice. I won't have the horse that takes maybe the most money, but in having Green Carrera and Tam Tam, you get that horse that you know will be forward, and then you get the horse that will be coming from the opposite end of the spectrum if they go too quick early.
Yeah, and not for nothing, Define is inside of Kensington Lane. And I think that might make a difference. I mean, it should favor the outside horse in Kensington Lane, but I think that horse really likes to be head up and likes to run. And I think this pace might get a little bit hot. It's very possible, especially with Tam Tam kind of forcing the issue. They don't really ideally want the lead, but they're going to be right there, kind of contributing to the pace a little bit. And I just don't think that the pace is really going to matter for Green Carrera. I think this horse is really, really nice. It says a lot that they beat 30 horses at once by 2 months.
A lot of similar feelings about just sort of especially the favorites. Like, we all kind of think Tam Tam with the running style and just the inside draw should get a very good trip, and probably is the horse to beat in here just with those things. And we're all a little cold on Kensington Lane, and I'm kind of with you, Barry. I'm gonna use Green Carrera for sure. I was not sure if I could like single or key in on, or maybe line up and make a big win wager on her with her running style, but I absolutely think she still is good enough to win this race, and I don't want to get knocked out of any exotics by her. And I may be doing what you're doing, Barry, where I'm going like 3-4. I do want to say I am still a little bit of a sucker for the 10 Rating Party, who's had some of these awfully wide trips. The problem is she's going to be wide again here. It looks like she's out wide once again. So she's good, and she's got a nice turn of foot, and she's due for some luck somewhere. And maybe it'll be a day where she ends up saving ground instead of being wide from post 10 like this, where on paper you feel like she'll be wide, but she's maybe a cut below, I think, the shippers. That's also my concern. Like, I don't know if she's quite at the level of Green Carrera, Tam Tam, Kensington Lane, but I feel like she might be the best of the SoCal horses that's Rating Party here. So final thoughts on this one, Noah? You seem like you're this might be a race where you're going to lean on Tam Tam, right?
Yeah, at the same time, I'm so glad you mentioned rating party because I feel like in these turf races, the horses that get those wide trips, I gravitate towards them more often than not. The problem is, yes, she's parked way out there, and this is nothing against Ben Curtis, but he rode her last time like she was 2-5. I mean,
I know.
she was.
Yeah, he did. He sure
drawn
did.
in post one. Ben took her off the rail down the backside, and then took her in the 7 path, in the 8 path. I mean, she was you're never going to win a turf race from way out there.
No shot.
The problem
Not
is,
at Del Mar.
No, especially not at Del Mar. The problem is he rides back again, and you're drawn in post 10. So it's just one of those things. If she is able to save ground, I would absolutely use her. But none of us have an 8-ball, so it's probably more of a chance that she gets stuck with that wide trip once again, rather than getting an opportunity to get down to the rail.
And she was literally out in the 8 path.
Oh my god!
In the middle part of the stretch, and the winner saved the ground and went up the rail.
Yeah.
So like when you talk about a tale of two
Right.
trips, you've got Rating Party out in the 8 path, Ryan, and then you've got Somerset West who's like scraping the paint and moving up the inside. It could not have been two more different trips for them, but it still may not matter in this spot. Put a bow on this one for us again, Ryan. You said you were going to lean a little on Tam Tam as well.
Yeah, I'll be mainly 3-4. I'm not going to let Green Carrera beat me, but in here, Kensington Lane is the horse that if that horse wins, I can get knocked out of this sequence. I got to take a stand somewhere, so it's against that horse. But I think Green Carrera is the best horse in this race, but I do think Tam Tam's going to be the beneficiary of what looks to be not the quickest pace on paper and should be at a tactical advantage, but Green Carrera is going to be flying late. That much I'm sure of.
And Barry was very high on Green Carrera. That's going to be 3-4, similar for Barry with Ryan. So lots of similarities for us in the Grade 1 Del Mar Oaks. And what's cool is, like, if you're having a tough day, or maybe you get knocked out in some of the earlier exotics, remember, like, you can have a serious get out now with these late $3 pick threes, with the $5 doubles. Like, you can make some serious money that maybe you couldn't have done before when the denominations weren't quite as big. If you're not someone who's betting $100 doubles, or you're not someone who bets that way, it's a little more difficult when there's only 2 or 3 races left. That is not the case anymore. Lots of opportunities. Let's get to the Pacific Classic race number 10. Let's start with you here, Ryan. This one it's an awesome field. I mean, we don't have a bunch of Grade 1 winners, but we have a really good, competitive, big field from top to bottom, horses with a lot of question marks, horses you can make a lot of cases for and against, shippers. Like, we don't have the small fields that we had in like the Gold Cup, where they only had a field of 4 and 5, and the big cap was not a great race either. This is so much better than some of the top races that we've had for older horses in Southern California this year.
I agree. I would say this is the best race for olders that we've had out on the West Coast this year to this point. And no, top to bottom, it's an incredibly difficult race. I found myself not trusting Hit Show because Del Mar is a bit of that quirky course where you have to kind of make that move around the far turn on the main track and kind of get that lead pretty early because our stretch is not that long. And this is a horse that has a really long stride to him. He kind of needs to get going. He can't be stopped in that momentum. Knightsbridge, not that he's a 1-number horse, but he's kind of a 1-number horse in terms of his 2-turn effort. Yeah. And I mean, if he runs back to that, we're going to get a Trevor Denman Part 2 called that he has an embarrassing lead because nobody's going to run close to a 122 in here. But that came in a 5-horse field with very favorable conditions. I found myself going to the Japanese horse over and over again. I thought that, one, the weight allowance is with this horse going 2 turns. That's a benefit without a doubt. And 2, the only thing that makes this horse Japanese is the fact that he's been running in Japan. He's American breeding, top and bottom. If you changed, where this horse was training, if this horse was in Bob Baffert's barn, this horse is going to vie for favoritism. It's a gun runner out of Estilo Talentoso, who is an incredible horse in her own right. So, to me, I'm not worried at all about the ship over. This has been the plan for a while. When I went back to that first marketing call for Del Mar when we were starting the season back up, this was on the discussion board. Was there's a horse named Finger? We all laughed about the name. That's supposed to be coming for the Pacific Classic. They've been targeting this race, so they're going to be coming over. And it was very much not a last minute decision. They're going to have to make decisions on Breeders' Cup or going back for the I think it's the last leg of the Japanese Triple Crown that's newer out there. So the fact that they're kind of taking that detour, coming out here, and they want to try and take this shot. This horse has done nothing wrong out there. 8 for 8 in the exacta in Japan. Comes on off the best win of his career, going 1.25 miles, given different conditions. They're turning right instead of left, and whatever else you have. But I don't know who else I'm really supposed to trust in here. So I'm going to go with the very fresh face in Finger. I'm probably going to have to use a few in here, but Knightsbridge won't be one of them.
Finger, I like this. If you watched any of his races, he looks like one of those freaky good horses. He was like slightly in second early in the Tokyo Derby, and then he just made an early move to the front end and went on with it. His connections say that he wants to go, and I think I can map it out here, Noah. If he runs well at the top of the lane, he's giving him the finger. Right? Is that what Larry Colas is going to go with?
No joke. I asked that to Larry a week ago when the entry came out. I said, can you please say, if this horse wins, can you please say he gave him the finger?
That would be great.
I don't think he's going to do it, but we can hope. We can hope.
Awesome. That was like when I was at TVG before, and I used to have to make graphics for some of the silly things we did, like bonkers for Yonkers. I tried to have him do a graphic that says Gino's got wood for my Woodbine plays, but they didn't want to go with that one. So that one we couldn't get that one past Noah. So but can we get maybe giving him the finger home here? What do you think about this horse, Noah? And who are some of the ones on your radar in the Pacific Classic?
Yeah, I like him too, not just for that reason, and I hope that happens. That would be something special for sure. It's interesting because I think you don't have to worry all that much with him when it comes to kickback, because the races over in Japan are just so sandy. If you're in behind other horses, I mean, you're just going to get a bunch of stuff thrown in your face. It could be dirt. It could be just about anything. So if those horses get out in front of him and this 3-year-old finds him in a bit of a tight spot and behind a horse, that I don't think that's going to be a problem. The other thing here to remember is this is a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Classic. So they're not coming over here, to get a race under the belt, to get some experience here in the States. They're coming over here to win. And I think when it comes to the Breeders' Cup in places outside of California, the Japanese are a little more reluctant because the ship is a little more difficult.
The trip is harder,
Whether it be the horseman. There's a lot of factors that go into it, obviously. But when you've got a paid berth, that decision becomes a little bit easier to take your talents over to Keeneland Racecourse just a couple minutes down the road for me. So I just think they're coming in to win. I think the pace is going to set up for him. I'm going to use him. And then if I'm playing the pick 5, I'll also use Full Serrano. I've always had a thing for Full Serrano, and I get that he's never really proven that he can rate, but he also hasn't had much of an opportunity to prove that. You can make excuses for his last couple starts. Suicidal pace in the Pegasus, you can throw that out. Didn't break whatsoever. I mean, he lost all chance in the Oaklawn Mile. I know he's had some issues. John Sadler was supposed to run him in the San Diego. He didn't make that race. Just the fact that he ends up here, Sadler's been adamant to get him into a spot like this. They bothered to bring him off of a bit of a layoff, and with the issues he's had into this race, I think it's definitely all systems go. And it seems like over the course of his career, when he's been in the States, he's always done his best running here at Del Mar. So I'll use those two. If I'm playing the pick 5, obviously consider others, but on the A line, I would use what are the numbers? 3 and 10?
Yeah, and Serrano, he's been a little bit unlucky the last couple years. Like ever since the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile race, there have been a lot of times where they had plans. He would get a little bit sick, something would go slightly off, and he would like back up the training a little bit. He fits with this group. My concern, and I'm going to have him on like a pick 4 and a pick 5 in some spots. I have him in like 3rd and 4th, I think, in this race. My concern would only be like, I don't really know if he's a 1.25 mile horse, but there's not that many opportunities for these horses to go 1.25 miles. And I think we could probably say that about a lot of these horses. Barry, I do want to at least have, so the horses that we talked about, I'm absolutely going to have Finger in my pick 4s and pick 5s for sure, because there is an opportunity that he might just be a freak and he might be this good. I do need to have Hit Show on my ticket just from a closing standpoint, because I wonder, is there a version of this race where we get, at least one of the Saffies is going, but almost it looks like both of them just do their best running on the front end, either Forge Seal or Navajo Warrior. I think Finger is going to be forwardly placed in this race. I think Malarchuk, his best races are when he's on the front end. You've got Navajo Warrior, who I just mentioned. You got Full Serrano, and then we've got Knightsbridge, who's going to go. So to me, like the real truest closers in here are kind of Original Sin and Hit Show. David actually picked Original Sin on top, which is kind of interesting because he beat Hit Show. So if you kind of like Hit Show, at least Original Sin can class up with him with the right type of trip. Barry, I'll hand it off to you. I want to have a couple closers on my ticket just in case they go really fast. How do you want to set it up in the Pacific Classic?
Well, I do agree with you that this pace is going to get hot. But one thing about Finger, which has me doubting how this horse is going to run in this race, how good this horse is going to run. That race in June, the final time is 2:04.2. Forge Steel ran the same distance at Santa Anita, going 2 minutes and two fifths, and won by 9. I just don't see how that. I just don't see how that translates from Japan over to the States. I mean, obviously, this horse could be better than that. Because I don't believe the pace was all that taxing after looking at that race a few times. But there's a whole ton of speed. Like you said, Malarchuk,
Knightsbridge at least, right? From the outside.
Knightsbridge is gonna go. There's gonna be quite a bit of speed. And I think Navajo Warrior is the horse that I want to key in on here because of the fact that this horse has come off the pace in the past. I know the last 2 races, he really kind of got the run of the race. I mean, you can see at Prairie Meadows, nobody's even near him for that.
But it's not
race.
like he's not a need the lead
every
horse,
call,
right?
He's not, and that's why I think he's going to have a better chance because, in fact, the other Saffy horse might be the one that's going to be the Rabbit.
Because I don't think he can run off the pace nearly as well. Like you could see it with Forge Steel in his last race. He was. Early on, it was him and Phileas Fogg. They both were really close to the lead, and they had to make a decision.
And
Brad decided to take back.
Better. Right.
He's just not he's not the same horse coming from off the pace as he is when he gets the lead.
Correct. And
Real
that's
quick,
what
Barry,
I think is going to drive a lot of this race. Yes.
So you mentioned the the time over in Japan on the 1.25 miles. I can't buy into that. I just feel like it's 2 different courses. So like Magnitude when he ran and won the Dubai World Cup, he went 2:04. Right. So then and it was I guess a muddy.
It's a different surface and everything, but it just seems like that's a real big disparity, at least for me. I'm not willing to take a price that would be lower than 10-1 on that horse, and I don't think you're going to get 10-1 on that horse. I think people are going to gravitate to that horse because of that last race. Yep, you're going to get lower than 10-1.
What are you hoping for, Ryan?
There's a lot of hype.
I would take that horse no lower than 5, but I think you're getting much higher than 5. I think
so 6.
I don't think he's lower than 8-1 because Knightsbridge is going to be 2-1 in here.
I think
he's not going to be a lukewarm favorite. He's going to be a heavy bet. Yeah, I think 8-1 on Finger makes sense, but I think Hit Show takes money. I think Hit Show is most likely your second choice in here. Maybe Forge Steel takes some, but that does leave Finger around the 3rd or 4th choice in here. I get that we're kind of hyping him up. I don't know that there's a whole lot of hype on him, though.
Well, no, yeah, I was gonna say
I think so.
He's gonna take a little of he'll take some money. I think the price that we're kind of hitting on is accurate. Like I think eight wouldn't shock me really at all. But what's kind of weird about the race is that you've got Knightsbridge And then after Knightsbridge, I guess you're right. It is Hit Show. There isn't really like that strong second choice that I think a lot of people are going to gravitate towards. So that's kind of when the betting gets weird, or when the favorite gets overbet. I think Knightsbridge is going to be even money.
Correct.
He could be. He very well could be. I don't know that I would be surprised if he was. I also hope so.
Me too. So, and if that's the case, then it will open things up for everyone else in here. So yeah, Barry, I'm like the horses that I definitely am going to have: Finger, Hit Show, Navajo Warrior.
Hit Show, definitely. I think Hit Show is going to get the trip. I mean,
they're definitely for me.
He honestly, I think he should be the favorite, but just because his body of work is just way better than Knightsbridge, but people are going to bet Knightsbridge because of his last race.
So Hit Show, just to mention a couple cool things about him. He's a grade 1 winner. He's an 8-time graded stakes winner. And if he wins this race, he's going to pass $10 million in career earnings, which is like nuts. You don't see very many horses get to that high of an earnings level. And he ran pretty well in the Suburban last time out. Like Phileas Fogg.
He's a full horse too.
Jump. Yeah. I mean, he's not a gelding. He's a 6-year-old who's still running. So what's really cool is Brad Cox has done a fantastic job with him, because he's not really like a grade 1 horse all the time. He's been campaigned like a grade 2 horse really for a lot of his career, but he's stepped up in some big races that fit him. And this is one of those races that, like, from a class standpoint, he's more classy than almost this entire field. I do worry about him being a little too far back at Del Mar, but there are absolutely versions of this race that's set up for him. I can't play this race without him. And we can all at least mention that Knightsbridge, that 122 buyer, that is the fastest buyer speed figure in 4 years. We have not seen any horse in any race, in any horse in any race at any level run faster than that since the Pacific Classic in 2022, when Flightline ran a 126. So we're talking like rarefied air for him. But I do think as a gambler, you're kind of supposed to bet against horses like this after they run their big race. When they leave it all out on the track, you kind of want to line up and take a shot against them the next time, because they're always going to be a little bit shorter than they should. If we're sitting here at the end of the Pacific Classic and Knightsbridge wins by 3 and he just runs off, would that shock me? No, but I don't think it's going to be just that easy for him. This is a field that's going to make him work. He hasn't gone this far. He's going to have to ship. He's going to have to prove it. And he's going to be way shorter than any of the 4 of us want to take on him. So, Noah, finish us up here with the Pacific Classic. This is going to be a race where you're going to be looking to play Finger. Who are some of the others maybe that are going to be in the mix for you?
Yeah, Finger and Full Serrano. If I end up playing the pick 5, I'll use those 2, maybe a couple others. We'll see what happens come post time. But I think what you mentioned with Knightsbridge is such a fascinating conversation, because in the win pool, he's probably going to be 7-5, 8-5 if I had to guess.
Right.
But people that are playing this pick 5, you're going to benefit so much.
He's going to be higher
in the sequential bets like that. I think he could play like 4-5 or even money, because people are going to look at the form. This horse ran a 122 buyer winning by 10 1/4 lengths. They're going to say, oh, he's 5-2 morning line. I don't want to throw him off tickets. I don't want to get beat by this horse. So many tickets are going to have him in their pick 5.
Like 95%, right, of the tickets there have him. Any of the tickets that might be a race they single, even because they see that big figure. And if you feel just like, you know what, he's not that figure of a horse. His big figures have come in grade 3s. He is grade 1 spots. He hasn't been quite as competitive. He hasn't gone this long. And if you handicap that race, it was like a field of 5. Skippy did not fire. And then the whole complexion of the race is different when the other main rival doesn't show up and you get to cruise on the front end. He is a nice horse, but he's absolutely kind of a bully, right? We talked about this. We talked about this a few weeks ago with Cornucopian, right? I think we were talking about it, and then he retired, unfortunately, or he had his issue afterwards, not long afterwards. But we were saying, like, there are horses like that where they can pour it on against softer groups and look really imposing. But man, I don't know if he gets punched if he's going to punch back. You know,
Well, we haven't
It's
really
the
seen
Kevin
him punch
Garnett
back.
of horses. The Kevin Garnett of horses. If Frosted was like that also. That's what this reminds me of. Frosted used to beat up. We used to call him the bum slayer.
It's
He
funny.
used to beat up on bad horses.
Because Dave, I was talking with Dave Weaver. They're going to put up a graphic on FanDuel this week about on the Saturday show about some of the high buyers, like the horses that have run these huge speed figures. Remember, Frosted ran a 123 in the Met Mile.
Mm-hmm.
But you look back, he didn't really beat any good horses. It's
Met
just
Mile
kind of funny. Like every time
very, very
he had to
weak.
step up and face a Pharaoh or some of the graded stakes horses, they would beat him. And so he was kind of that bully who could pick on the horses that he's just more talented than. Is that who Knightsbridge is? Or is he a horse who's going to run away and hide? And then, I mean, if he wins this impressive, it's like Bill Mott's just going to be kicking back, putting his feet up. Like, I got one horse who can set it up on the front end with Knightsbridge. I got Sovereignty to come from the back. I got a pretty nice 1-2 punch for the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Well, let's not.
And I got Baeza just in case.
Right.
This isn't the strongest rendition of the Pacific Classic. So,
no,
I can definitely see a world where Knightsbridge just kind of floats on and wins this pretty easily. But I also see he could get his hands full. There's some decent horses in here that could give him problems early, and that might be his undoing, especially with the distance.
I think if there are horses that give him problems early, I think he puts all of them away. But if Hit Show comes calling, Hit Show punches. Hit Show punches. And Knightsbridge, I don't think has a punch for him.
Yeah.
So he's the horse that I think scares me the most. I'm curious what his odds are going to be. I do like Finger in here, but Hit Show's the horse that I trust out of this entire group.
That's a good way of putting it. He's just the most trustworthy. Yep. Like you know what you're going to get from Hit Show more than at this distance, more than really anybody in the field. He will come running. He is a grade 1 winner at this distance. He beat some of the best horses in the world at this distance. So we'll see.
Mixto, of course.
Right? Yeah, Mixto. Exactly. Okay, let's put a bow on the Saturday card at Del Mar. Let's go to the Del Mar Mile. And what makes this race fun, Ryan, is that, if Formidable Man was in here, he's probably pretty tough on paper. He would be a heavy favorite. But the horses over the last couple of years that are like the division leaders in the mile division and in the marathon division, Formidable Man and Gold Phoenix, they're not in a race like this. And it makes it a much more competitive race where you can actually build cases, I think, for some of the horses that have gotten beat by them. Like any of these horses like Cabo Spirit, SEAL Team, Detain's a new face, but Almendares is another one. King of Gosford, they've kind of been a little bit behind the Formidable Mans. And I think they're live in a race like this. You probably want to start with El Patente, though, because he's been right at the top of the mile division over the last year and a half. And it does look like they could have a nice couple race campaign for him at the end of this year. If he runs well here, you could see him maybe running at Keeneland one race and then the Breeders' Cup. He could have a couple races that lead him into that. What do you think about El Patente, Ryan? And who are some of the horses you'd love to be alive to in this pick 5?
Yeah, to me, I do understand El Patente and the love for him because I think on his best day, he's best. But I think there's a lot of other speed in here, but I don't think anybody is faster than Flyover. That horse is an absolute speedball. He has 5 furlong speed, and he's proven that when he stretches out to a mile, I know it was against Calbreds in the last the 2-back race, but he has that speed and he can take it the full mile distance. He went sub 109 at Santa Anita for the Crystal Water Stakes. And I'm not thinking that he is the horse that I'm going to land on, but he's going to make life difficult for El Patente.
Yeah.
King of Gosford's one of those that just has a bunch of blue time form figures, and that's a horse that likes to be forward. I don't trust him at all. Poor Astronomer. He deserves a win. I hope to see him get it one day. I just hope it's not this Saturday.
And it's for the last 20 now for him, for Astronomer.
Yeah, it's racking up a little bit here.
Right?
They're not. He shows up and he tries. I mean, he tries. And then in terms of other speed, you have Cabo Spirit on the rail, and you know exactly where he's going to be early, especially with Mike Smith riding. Mike Smith either goes to the front or to the back, and he's going to go to the front with Cabo Spirit. So there's 3 horses at least in here that absolutely need to be forward and need to be on the front end. And then the rest of them, in addition to those 3, have all kind of been beating up on each other over the past couple years, or they'll run into Formidable Man, and they're just a little bit behind the 8 ball when it comes to beating a horse like that. To me, the horse that's kind of been pointing to this spot is Detain. And he had a good first out stateside debut. Second out for McCarthy's only 1 for 28 with these foreign shippers. Second time out, that number jumps up considerably to, I had it written down here. It was something like 28 to 30% for that second out performance. And this horse fit right into that bill, took a step up, came from, mid-pack-ish, but he had a really nice turn of foot. He never looked a loser that entire race. And to JJ's credit, he gave a phenomenal ride. He hugged the rail the entire time. He saved the ground. But he can work out a very similar trip in this spot. He's also that kind of fresh face, as I mentioned. This is his 3rd start of the form cycle since coming in here, and he ran against real horses overseas. That Group 2 that he came in off of, he ran behind Opera Ballo, who's a horse that we're hoping to see, I think, in the Breeders' Cup Mile at Keeneland in this fall for Godolphin and Appleby. That's a very real horse. And then you just keep going back. You see
race, Opera Ballo won 3 consecutive group stakes races, including a Group 1. Group 2, Group 1, Group 3 in his next 3 starts.
Exactly. And you have horses, military order, Zeus Olympios. You have Camille Pissarro. You have Henri Matisse, who won at Del Mar in the juvenile turf, hot as hell. Delacroix, Wimbledon Hawkeye. I mean, you look through and the horses he's faced, and he has faced the who's who of the European contingent. And he comes here, and he's now got 2 races under his belt. McCarthy's very, very patient with these types. He knows what he has. It's obviously a Juddmonte horse as well. To me, this was the next step in where this horse is being pointed, where this sorry, I lost my words. This was the plan, it seems like, for McCarthy, for this horse. Get him a couple races, aim for this spot. And to me, I might just single this horse on the end. And that might allow me to spread a little bit elsewhere. Sure. We talked about those first 2 legs that are just impossible. This might be where I get skinny and I try and just kind of take a stab and hope I'm right. There's a lot of horses in here that have run better numbers, but to me, Detain might be capable of that step up, and he might be primed for a big one here.
Barry, I agree with a lot of what Ryan was saying, and my only negative on Detain just might be the price, because he does look so good on paper. I think in this race, there's so many familiar horses that people are like, oh, I kind of know him, or I kind of know him, or he's okay. This horse just looks like a new face in this race. He looks so good. I cannot leave him out of any exotics. And I hope he's not too short of a price in here, because that's my only knock on him. I think he looks really, really good on paper.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's definitely one of the 3 horses that I'm definitely going to use in this final leg. Like you said, he looks on paper like he lays over this field, like he should win this race by open lengths.
Yeah.
But you know how things happen. So I think Freedom's Not Free right inside of him does have a good shot. I think being able to pass horses was a real question mark, and they passed it going down the hill in the Daytona where they won just by a nose. And then in the Wicker, just didn't get a great trip against this kind of company. But I think the switch to Jaramillo is going to make all the difference, because I think this horse needs a target, but not the lead. When they're on the lead, they just don't run as good. The couple of times that they did have the lead or went for it, they just kind of petered out at the end. You can see one of those times they went up against Minaret Station. So that race was actually a little bit stronger than what it looks like on paper. I think Freedom's Not Free does have a really good shot, because they project to get kind of the same trip that Detain might want here. And then the outside Twirling Point is very interesting to me too. This horse got some bad trips, and there's quite a bit of speed in here, a lot more than what this horse has been facing. I mean, against King of Gosford, they didn't really have a shot. That horse
he just cruised on the front end. Yep.
Right, and they closed into that pace and finished pretty strong, and I think that sets them up very well for this this trip. The only downside is, Ricky is just not riding very well at the moment, and the barn is doing well, but he's not, kind of making the right moves, doing the right things. But sometimes all it takes is one, and this might be the horse at a decent price. I'm definitely using this horse though.
David likes this horse a little bit too. I previewed the race with David Aragona, and he thought this horse has a shot at a big price. Noah, let's hand it over to you, my friend. Del Mar Mile. Hopefully you're alive coming into this last race. Who are some of the horses that are on your radar?
Oh, if I'm alive, I'll be on cloud 9. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
I thought that this race, you could argue, is probably the most difficult race of the sequence, the races that we talked about. I mean,
yeah,
could be.
I thought this was really tough. I have a small opinion with Almendarez, who just doesn't win all that often, but I thought last time in the Eddie Reed, I thought his trip was a little more troublesome than maybe it looks. He was just like super rank on the inside, hit the rail at one point. It's always seemed like this is a horse that Antonio Freisa's been able to easily settle and kind of make his one run, whereas he was a little close, super ranked last time. I just don't know what happened. He was also going 9 furlongs, which I think is just a little too far for him. So cuts back to the 8 panels. He's tried this race in 23, 24, and 25. And although he hasn't won any of those races, I feel like he's run pretty well. Last year lost the Formidable Band, was probably just second best in that small field. A couple other times back, both in 24 and 23, he lost to Conclude. It was a pretty good horse for Phil D'Amato. One of those years, he just set a super cold pace. It was actually 2 years ago, set a super cold pace, and he was really the only one making up some significant ground in there. So I feel like maybe today's the day. Give the man his flowers. He's run some good races. I think this finally his year, 4 times the charm.
It's funny. I have never picked Almendarez on top in any of his races. If you've ever heard me in the previews, a lot of the times I would mention before the All-American, he had never won a graded stakes race. And so anytime he was like a shorter price, I would try to point that out. This is a great spot for him. Yeah. It really is. His best races are going a mile at Del Mar. That's exactly what this is on paper. Yep. There's a lot of early speed that should set up for him. And you were hitting the nail right on the head, Noah. That trip last time was kind of weird. They went so slow early when there was no other speed to push Cabo Spirit that Almendarez ended up way closer than normal. And he does not want that trip. He was kind of rank. He didn't really know what to do. I think they're going to grab a hold of him again, take him back, and then just have him make that one late run where they tip him out and they come flying late. And you know what? There's no Gold Phoenix. There's no Formidable Man. I don't think there are any horses in here that are so much classier than him that he can't win. This is a really good spot for him to maybe get a big, big victory. So for a horse that I've never picked on top, I absolutely will have Almendarez all over. I have Detain all over for sure. He's in the mix for me. I probably have El Patente on a couple tickets in case he is just a little bit better than this group. And those are probably the 3 horses that I'm going to try to build around, I think, to get to this point in what is a really, really challenging pick 5 sequence. So, fellas, we covered a lot of ground from races 7 through 11. You guys sat here with me through some technical difficulties as the computer was crapping out on me a few different times, so I appreciate that. Ryan, let's hand it over to you to start as we say goodbye. Awesome Saturday coming up. You gave us a couple strong opinions here. Where else can we find you? Any other shows that you have coming up? And where else can the folks follow along with anything that's going on with Ryan?
Yeah, the best Saturday for sure of the meet, the best day of the Del Mar meet. Summer, fall, you name it. This is the card to bet on. This is the card to wager on. You can find me at the Gallop Out on YouTube or the Gallop Out through In the Money Media. Jackson and I are going to do a show tomorrow that'll be live on Thursday. Covering the cross-country pick 5, which is all 5 graded stakes. Yeah. It's going to be the Grade 1 Alabama, including the Grade 1 Del Mar Oaks, the Grade 1 Pacific Classic, and the Grade 2 Green Flash. So it's going to be a fantastic sequence that we're going to dive into. There's some strong opinions, I'm sure. You heard mine, and now I get to hear Jackson's tomorrow. So that's going to be fun. And then 20 lengths clear on Twitter if you want to talk shit or, if your name happens to be whoever. So have at it. I'm always down for a good laugh. And that's exactly what I'll do. So 20 lengths clear on Twitter and have at it. Have fun.
No, Ryan, I'll be out there. You and I can have a Del Margarita on Saturday. Come find me. I'll buy one for you at the end of the day. Noah, my friend, what's going on with you this weekend? Where can we find some more of your work?
Yeah, $20 Del Margarita sounds delicious, guys.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I wish I was out there. That'd be a lot of fun. You can find me over on the HHH Racing podcast, do the show typically every Wednesday night, Pacific Horse Players. So obviously you can find me over there. X handle at noah.meag. You can find me over there on X. And then we've got a show tomorrow night on PHP. We kind of moved the schedule around, threw up PHP in the primetime hours tomorrow night, Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Talking about these same 5 races that we just talked about. So if you want to find out more about some of those opinions, check out some replays, we'll talk about some trip notes, stuff like that. So should be a lot of fun tomorrow night. Go check us out. It's been a lot of fun talking through these races with you guys tonight.
Barry, you and I had a couple of those $20 Del Margaritas last year
after
the Breeders' Cup. We were tossing a few of those bad boys back. Where else can we find you this week? Doing some horse racing happy hour with Louie?
Yes, on Friday we're doing SoCal Saturday, so we're going to go over this entire card, not just the pick 5. So we'll be doing that, and I'm always around on X/Twitter. I guess nobody calls it X. So
no. It's always
horse racing Twitter.
It'll always be horse racing Twitter to all of us. Once again, thanks a bunch, fellas, for hanging out through some of the technical difficulties. It was a little annoying. We had some breaks and things were crashing, but these guys were awesome. They held strong with me, and hopefully we were able to lead some of you to some winners there. So best of luck to everyone. If you're out at Del Mar on Saturday, if you see me walking around, come by and say hello, or you can buy me and Ryan a Del Margarita if you feel like it.
There you go.
That's
oh
fine
yeah, there we go
for both of us. No problem for either one of us. So for Ryan, for Noah, for Barry, I'm Gino, and we'll show you our DRF newbie commercial one more time as we get out of here.
Think horse racing is too complicated? Think again.
And they're off.
Every pro was a newbie once. Meet DRF Newbie, the mobile tool loaded with daily racing form data and the power of DRF AI.
Corner stalker.
Get the insights you need fast so you can play smarter and feel more confident. DRF Newbie, horse racing made simple. Try it free today. Visit newbie.com.